Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cloud Wars Live. The digital revolution's in full swing. We're trying to understand what it's all about, where it's headed, where it's going, and what it means for all of us. And one of our favorite big thinkers on this subject is Sean Ammirati, who is a professor at the business school at Carnegie Mellon University. He helped found the center there for helping big companies think like little companies, move quickly. Sean is a venture capitalist. He's an author, a podcaster, and a triathlete. Sean, welcome back. Always great to have you.
Thanks, Bob. It's always good to be here.
I didn't miss anything in that intro, did I?
No, and I'll Venmo you later. That was great. So thanks for the kind words as always. That was awesome.
Sure. So, Sean, I mentioned those things up front because you get to look at the world through a lot of interesting lenses, talk to different people in different ways. So I always think it is great to get sort of some of your big picture views on what's reverberating through all of those different sectors and channels and big brains that you get to talk to. So Sean, what's top of mind today for you?
Well, and we've talked about this before, Bob, but like just when you think it can't get worse for the social media companies, it gets worse for the social media companies, I would say. And, I've been reflecting a bit on the Facebook information that's been coming out, and certainly it looks like there's a lot of problems. There are a lot of opportunities to improve that for kind of everybody, organization, the world at large, et cetera. But one of the things that's become increasingly concerning to me is I'm hearing this narrative a lot, which is like, see, this is the problem with big tech, right? Big tech is evil. Big tech is this, big tech is that. And I am not certainly going to defend Facebook because I think there are huge systemic problems there that are probably in need of a dramatic change. And frankly, every time I think, okay, we've hit rock bottom, it's like they figure out a way to drill further into the rock and look worse, right? So I think it's a very fair comment to say, maybe Facebook is evil in certain ways, but it's important to remember that like big tech is a lot bigger than social media. And part of my concern right now is that the enterprise tech companies, a lot of the cloud infrastructure companies, a lot of these other players are sort of letting the narrative be driven by what's happening in ad-supported social media, which is is really, frankly, a small part of the overall ecosystem. And I just worry that if you fast forward 2 years, there's going to be a lot of collateral damage there that is not good for the world at large. It's been an awesome year for digital transformation, kind of broadly. And this, as you said, this digital revolution, like a lot of physical problems have become digitized, and that's opened up a world of possibility. We're all taking advantage of vaccinations today, thanks to computational biology. It just as a sort of relevant example of something that like it shows the sort of physical to digital and the ability to simulate it. We talked the last time I was on here about digital twinning and the supply chain, and certainly the supply chain is that at least as top of mind for the average American today as it was the last time we talked, and hopefully people can use computer science and cloud computing to solve some of those problems with information. And so I just think there's this narrative challenge right now that's a bit tricky. And that does not mean that social media isn't broken and need fixed. It does, but let's not pretend that what's happening at Facebook with teen depression and lots of other problems, let's not pretend that is the same. Like that is no more like what's happening in your favorite kind of business model transformation inside of a large enterprise software company than what happens in the automotive industry relates to what happens in pharmaceuticals. I mean, they're just they are both businesses, but outside of that, like they're not the same kind of tech at all. And I just think this is important because we want to make sure that best and brightest of the world continue to go focus on these problems and other problems like technology plus climate, technology plus medical, right? And so we need to be really careful that we don't, I think that we don't paint with too broad a brush there.
Sean, I agree with you, especially when you think about the, I keep having certain images of scenes in Blazing Saddles, but the saviors who'd come riding into town to fix this would be Congress. And Facebook might not score real well on, trust and all, but no matter how bad Facebook scores on that, I think they're probably more highly regarded or less lowly regarded than Congress. So I don't know that there's a great deal of confidence that these other people could come in and somehow try to fix this when they know nothing about it. And very often, I think their desire to sort of attack the big, well-known thing with the deep pockets would have some of those adverse, aftershocks that you're talking about. And I don't think they get those subtleties that you've described here. Sean, I think about it, I'm going to turn this around a little bit the other way, right? You started to take these things of, big tech's bad and all that. I was had a conversation earlier today with the head of SAP's global insurance business unit. And he said a recent survey done of millennials showed that I think it was about 2,000 respondents. They're talking about buying insurance, and 36% of millennials said they would prefer to buy insurance from a technology company than from an insurance company, because they know them, they trust them, they like to work with them. And I guess from their experiences with insurance companies, those experiences haven't been so good. So the technology industry, I think, is going to pull the insurance industry and others into these new directions that are going to help make them more successful. So to your point, energy plus technology, medical plus technology, life sciences plus all these different areas where there's so much potential. I would hate to see, as you expressed it so eloquently there, this sort of ham-handed, sweeping and probably quite damaging short-term thinking without understanding what the real consequences are in a world that, whether we like it or not, like all parts of it or not, is being dominated by or heavily influenced by technology.
Yeah, well, and I guess I would say it's right. Like, I think we should like it. Like, I think, like, I think you can hold both of these beliefs true and not have any challenge. Facebook is evil. Going to work for Facebook is a lot like going to work for Philip Morris 30 years ago. And enterprise technology is magical. The things that are happening as technology comes and helps these industries transform is a good thing. And we should do more of that. So we should do more energy tech. We should do more medical tech. We should continue to invest in solving the world's problems using, I think you can hold both those beliefs true and not feel any tension there. And yet I'm just worried that more and more I'm hearing well, big tech this, big tech that. I think your other point, though, that's really interesting on that SAP comment is that, more and more companies, I think, are realizing that they need to be technology companies. I saw an interesting comment by an analyst recently talking about Tesla, which is kind of a fun example of this. It's sort of an easy to comprehend example of this, right? He said, look, everybody who thinks Tesla is undervalued believes Tesla is a software company. Mm-hmm. Anybody who thinks Tesla is overvalued believes Tesla is an automaker. Uh-huh. And in 5 years, we'll see who's right. And it's it's an easy way to wrap your head around this concept, right? And so you could say the same thing about insurance, right? If you're looking at it, a lot of these, new insurtech companies, if you look at them as, oh, they're going to bring the efficiency of, we're going to bring the efficiency of, technology to this industry. We're going to make the experience of buying, managing, and utilizing the insurance policies that you're taking advantage of feel digitally native, and all that comes along with that, right? Then that's great. And that could be done by, Google, or that could be done by one of these incumbents learning how to dance and transforming their business, or by partnership, like what you're seeing, you know, Microsoft do in so many of these different spaces, right? So there's a bunch of um, kind of different examples of this, right? Which I think is all good. But like an interesting kind of fun way to think about it is like, okay, how can you make these companies more software companies over the next few years, because it makes the businesses run better, they have better gross margins, consumers like it better because the experience is better when you start with this digitally native approach to it.
Yeah. Yeah, Sean, that's fascinating. And I couldn't agree with you more. So a couple things from some earnings calls discussion that we've heard this week. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to many of the Alphabet quarterly calls, but the Alphabet CEO, Sundar Pichai, clearly, you know, brilliant guy, great leader and all that, but as a public speaker, he's not exactly captivating or riveting. I mean, that's not his job to be a public speaker, but I find that Pichai generally says on these earnings calls the absolute minimum that, you know, can be said. He never strays outside the line or goes outside of it. So one analyst asked him on Tuesday, he said data is such a big thing now, so BigQuery, he said, has been such a driver behind Google Cloud's growth. Is this data thing, is that the big thing that's really made, you know, Google Cloud now, in my estimation, they're by far the fastest growing of the big cloud companies. And Pichai went through some of the normal sort of standard boilerplate stuff. And then he said, but he said, more than anything, he said, above all, what's driving Google Cloud's growth is our focus on industry specific capabilities and applications. Yeah. And he said, that's where the magic is. That's where we're really doing something. So it was so wild to hear him, of all people, say that. But even somebody who's reserved as he is in public comments, he couldn't hold back on that. So, Sean, I just thought that was wild. And you see Google Cloud now more and more, they're helping these pharmaceutical companies become software pharmaceutical companies, and
right,
you know, just up and down the line, the car companies and so on. I think it's tremendous. And especially coming from a company like that, they've now got Google Cloud, I think $5 billion in revenue for the last quarter. Their loss is under 700 million. So I think they're going to break even within the next 12 months or so. And the opportunities for this company to continue to go out and be sort of a front-end evangelizer for this crossover from whatever industry you've been in, now meet us in the software field as well. And you'll be, right. Maybe we can create a new name for this, Sean, like a software medical company.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I think it's, you know, it's great to see. I mean, we've been talking about this industry cloud for not just you and I, but like Cloud Wars has been, you and I have, but also Cloud Wars in general, right, has been talking about this industry cloud for a while. I think you've done some really smart things kind of early on to talk about the ranking it and measuring it, sort of like you did with the Cloud Wars overall. You know, from my perspective, I think part of the thing that's interesting here is like, it's kind of like talking about, you know, email today. Like nobody thinks about, oh, like, are you an email business or not? You know, like I remember 25 years ago, like I had a boss who literally, like, his admin printed out his emails. She gave it to him. He read them. Then he called her back in to dictate his answers. And then she typed that. And then she sent the email. Right. And then at some point, like, those people either retired or learned how to stay digital the whole way through, right? And so, like, on this personal level, we've had this transformation on how we work, where it's not like some people work analog, some people work digital. We all work digital.
John, that's a great point. I want to come back to that in a second, but first, a quick word from our sponsor, BMC. BMC wants to know, is your business on its A game? That's when systems are intelligent by learning from markets, where automation is paramount yet effortless, and when technology and people work as one in an enterprise. The A game is your business at its absolute best. BMC calls this the autonomous digital enterprise. Find out more at bmc.com/A game.
Right. And I think, you know, it's going to be the same thing in industry, right? It's not going to be like, well, some people take advantage of this industry cloud and some people don't. it's going to be everybody takes advantage of it. And those who don't either learn how to or do the equivalent of retiring, but it's a much less pleasant
Yeah.
equivalent for what it's worth. So, you either sort of make that change or you're looking for work, right? And so I think that's what you're going to see. And so it may not be even like the industry cloud thing in 5 years. It may just be, this is industry. Like, just like, it's not like that, do you work digital or not? It's just like, so are you going to work or
Yeah.
you going to retire,
Yeah. Go, do triathlons.
Sure. Exactly. Right. Just go ride your bike. Is that what you're going to do? Yeah.
But Sean, so along those lines too, one other underscoring your excellent point there was Microsoft also on the 26th released its quarterly earnings, and for the first time, Satya Nadella included industry clouds as he does his opening remarks. He runs through their major businesses, and right there, I think it was almost like batting cleanup, fourth or fifth on the list was industry clouds. And the point he was making there was, this is something that the changes in the world require it, but we see this not as a separate thing. This is part of the overall Microsoft cloud, and we're doing a lot of work to make it easy for our customers to take advantage of this along with other things, and each piece builds on and enhances the other. So not seeing these as different worlds, like I know at least Oracle always tried to keep its, what they call it, GBUs, general business units, separate from the rest of the business. And to your point there about, we're not going to call them industry clouds in a few years, I agree. I think that is going to be the point at which somebody's going to do this. Why would you say, no, I'll just take the generic one size fits all version instead of the things that's really specifically tailored to help me run my business more effectively? So it's going to be a fascinating next couple of years.
Right. And I think that's a great way to circle back to the point at the beginning, right? That's the fascinating next couple of years. The faster we can get there, the better for all involved, right? And so we just need to be very, very careful when we're taking shots at social media, which I'm not saying doesn't deserve the shots they're taking, to be clear. That if half of what's coming out about Facebook is true, there's big problems there that need to be addressed, right? And I mean, you're much more of a journalist than me, Bob, but this feels like a very credible way to roll this in. It doesn't feel like, some shot in the dark group doing this. Like, this feels like a credible consortium of people coming out with this information. So, from my perspective, I think that's all good, but that's not this. And let's not compare those two things, because they're different, and we need to be pouring fuel onto this industry digital transformation here.
Yeah. Well, Sean, just as we're winding down here, I want to say you've been, one of your points you're making today is, let's be careful how we describe things and sort of how we lump things together. I love you, Sean. We've been good friends for almost a quarter century, but if you ever call me a journalist again, he said, you and I have big problems.
All right. My apologies.
Yeah,
My
so
apologies. My point is, you're more of a journalist, I think, is what I said, Bob. But
so it's even worse.
No. More of, as in, like, I trust your evaluation of the journalism than my own. But as an outsider, it feels. But all right, fair enough. Anyways, we won't make that mistake again.
Social media companies, journalists, Congress, I mean, woo. Talk about
Okay.
Yeah. Anyhow, but Sean, it's I get some really lovely notes from people today, working in these fields of what they do, and they're just saying, wow, I really enjoyed reading about this and that. And I just say back to them, can you imagine, what this is like for me? I get to watch and talk about, this extraordinary things going on in the world. So it really is like, a dream job for me, watching these things happen, and the capabilities, the opportunities, the possibilities, the potential. And I think more and more the right way that some of the leading companies are thinking about it, it isn't just, I'm trying to do what I did in the past a little bit better. They're thinking about totally new things. That's right. And they're seeing past that notion of, if I do more of this, I'll make more money. Nothing wrong with that, but they're seeing, I make more money, I'm going to help make the world a better place. I'm going to help, create more opportunities for people. I'm going to help, raise standards of living. And to me, that whole big picture, that your point about the tech industry has been an incredibly powerful, positive force in that direction. I hope that goes on for a long, long time.
Yep, that's well said, man. That's awesome.
Well, Sean, it's always a pleasure with you, except for the journalist thing. And look forward very much to seeing you again soon. You got to tell us, I always want to check out a race coming up.
I actually just raced this past weekend. I did the half Ironman in Waco, which was hot and hard, but finished, and was happy to get across the line. So it was good.
It should be hard, right? It's the tin foil man.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yep.
Sean, thanks a bunch. It was great to see you, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
Folks, thanks to all of you for being with us here at Cloud Wars Live. Hope as we start to swing in the holiday season, good things are happening for everybody. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you soon.